Dear students, in our previous class we have discussed regarding the evolution of computers. But in our today's class we are going to discuss about the generation of computers. Generations of computers. So, without taking any time, now I am directly coming to the topic. So what is meant by generation? Generation means the changes which are done in the computer. So those period of time we can call them as the generation of computers. And in those generations the computers are upgraded in every period of time. So that period we can call it as a generation. First generation. First generation. Here it starts from 1940 to 1956, around 16 years of period. This is the first generation of computer. Okay, in this generation the vacuum tubes are used as the vacuum tubes were used for switching circuits. Used for switching circuits. Switching circuits. Vacuum tubes were used for switching circuits and magnetic drums for storage. And magnetic drums for storage or memory for storage in the first generation. Okay, listen, the vacuum tubes, they are used for switching of circuits. Okay, switching of circuits means transfer of data, creating circuits, and then magnetic drums for storage, for storing any data. Magnetic drums were used. Okay, they generate enormous amount of heat. They generate enormous amount of heat. Okay, first generation computers generate enormous amount of heat. They are very expensive to operate and consumes huge amount of electricity. Okay, electricity consumption is very high. Okay, they are very large in size. Okay, sometimes the generation of heat, leads to malfunctioning. Okay, leads to malfunctioning. Malfunctioning means improper function. Okay, malfunctioning means improper function. Sometimes the generation of heat, it will make the first generation of computer for malfunctioning. Okay, understood? Then after this, the next point is only one calculation is done. Only one calculation is done is done at one time. Okay, only one calculation is done at one time. Okay, they were not doing more than one calculations. The first generation computers, the first generation computers, the first generation computers operate only on machine language, only on machine language. Okay, these first generation computers, they will work only on machine level language. Okay, and the last point here is, one last point is there, and the last point after this thing I am going to write the last point here. Input was based on punched cards and paper tapes. Okay, at the time input devices are punched cards and paper tapes. With the help of, just like in today we are using keyboard and mouse and then web camera as input devices, same as at the time punched cards and paper tapes were used, and output is taken as printout. Output is taken as printout. In the form of printout, the output was taken. But now we can see the output on the monitor itself, and after that, if needed, then we can take the printout. But in first generation computer, the output was taken as printout. See, these are vacuum tubes. Okay, this type of tubes were used in the first generation of computers. Now we are going to discuss about the two first generation computers. Among those, the first one is ENIAC. This is the first generation computer. It can be called as electrical numerical integrator and computer. The students, remember these expansions. They are asked for 1 mark questions in your examination. Okay, what is this ENIAC? How it works? Okay, it works on 10 binary digits. Sorry, it works on 10 decimal digits instead of binary. Okay, it works on 10 decimal digits. 10 decimal digits instead of binary digits. Instead of binary digits used by older calculators or computers. Older calculators or computers. Okay. ENIAC will operate on 10 decimal digits instead of using binary, just 0 and 1. It will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, likewise 10 decimal places. based on 10 decimal basis, ENIAC computer will going to be work. And then after that, ENIAC was also the first computer to work on more than 2000 vacuum tubes. Okay, at the same time, ENIAC needs 2000 vacuum tubes to get operated. Okay, ENIAC was working on 10 decimal digits, but it uses 2000 vacuum tubes, and the length of wires used in ENIAC is 18,000 kilometers length. Okay, the wires which are used in ENIAC is 18,000 kilometers of lengthy wires, completely, totally wires which are used in ENIAC. They are of 18,000 kilometer lengthier. Okay, and ENIAC needs 167 square meters of room. Okay, it needs 167 square meters of room, and this can be called as, in bracket I will write, this can be called as floor space. Okay, it needs 167 square meters of space is needed for ENIAC. And one more thing is here, okay, it is also having, it had punched cards. Okay, along with punched cards input and output. Okay, it will work arithmetically. Okay, and it is having okay, it has arithmetically one multiplier. Okay, one multiplier. Multiplier means it is used for multiplication, and then one divisor, which is used for division. Okay, one multiplier, one divider. It is divider. Okay, one multiplier, one divider. Okay, etc. Okay, just write these points regarding ENIAC. It works on 10 decimal points instead of binary digit like old computers. And then, okay, ENIAC requires 2000 vacuum tubes at the same time. Then it will use 18,000 kilometers length of wires, and it requires 167 square meter of room or floor space. It will use punched cards for input and output. For arithmetic operations, one multiplier and one divider is there in ENIAC. And come now, we we shall see one more time, that is EDVAC. Look, this computer is called as ENIAC. Okay, it is having, see how much huge space it has covered, and a person by sitting he is operating that computer. Okay, so it was also generating a lot amount of heat, requires 18,000 kilometers of wires, 2000 vacuum tubes, 167 square meters of floor space. Now one more type of computer on which we are going to work, and that type is EDVAC. EDVAC. Okay, this can be called as electronic discrete variable automatic computer. Variable automatic computer. Okay, what is the working of this EDVAC? EDVAC is having much improvements than ENIAC. Okay, EDVAC is having much improvements than ENIAC. Two persons by name Mauchly and Eckert. Mauchly and Eckert. Mauchly and Eckert. Okay, they were working on it. They were working on it for 2 years. Okay, Mauchly and Eckert, they were working on it for 2 years before ENIAC. Okay, before ENIAC, Mauchly and Eckert, they were worked for 2 years on EDVAC before ENIAC, and after that even went into operation. After introducing this, even went into operation. They were went into operation. They have performed operations on EDVAC. Okay, worked for 2 years and introduced EDVAC, and they have did operations on EDVAC. Then after that, their idea was to have their idea. Okay, their idea was to have their idea was to have their idea was to have the program for the computer stored inside the computer. Stored inside the computer. Sorry, this is not computer. Okay, in textbook it was mistyped. Program for the data or information. Okay, their idea, these two persons' idea was to have the programs. Okay, they need to create the programs or functions. Okay, so for that thing, here they for the data which is stored in the computer. Okay, for that data they actually want to do any programs just like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. These things are called as programs. So for that type of programs they have worked on EDVAC and Commission C. EDVAC was going to have more internal memory. EDVAC was going to have more internal memory than any other computing devices. Okay, any other like any other first generation computer and all those things. Okay, just like they are having less storage, but EDVAC is having more amount of storage memory. Then the last point, EDVAC was used to have binary digits, that is zeros and ones. Binary digits, okay, that is zeros and ones instead of decimal numbers. For what? EDVAC have to use binary numbers instead of decimal numbers, because thus simplifying the construction of arithmetic unit. Thus simplifying the construction of arithmetic unit. For the simplification of arithmetic units, okay, EDVAC was used binary numbers instead of decimal numbers. And the last type is UNIVAC. This means universal. Okay, universal automatic computer. So this is the last type of computer. This UNIVAC is the first commercial computer. Introduced in or this can be called as produced in United States. So these are some of the computers which comes under the first generation of computers. Among the remaining generation, that is second generation, third, fourth and fifth generation, we are going to discuss in our next class. If you have any doubts regarding this class, you can ask me personally. Thank you.